I had an encounter with Jesus that I want to share with everyone. Um, well, first, I guess a little background about myself. I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and at school, we would learn about the miracles that Jesus performed. And at one point, I asked one of the nuns. I said, "Well, what?" And we were taught that you just believed in the miracles. You had faith, and you believed that these miracles really happened. And I wasn't sure. I didn't know how they could happen. So I asked one of the nuns, well, what happens if you don't just have faith? What happens if your mind is questioning? Like you just have these questions that you want to know how it happened. And she said, um, faith is something you're born with. If you don't have it, you don't just if you don't automatically just believe, then you were not born with faith. And it kind of like I felt was just a way of putting me down. Um, but what it did is I felt like I was not part of the Catholic Church. Even when I went to church on Sundays, I remember feeling, I just, never felt good. I felt like I don't understand, the message of church because when they talked about what Jesus would say, "You are the light of the world," and that kind of thing. And then the other part of church was all, "Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed." And I would think, well, if I'm not, why is Jesus is saying I'm the light of the world, but now you're saying I'm not worthy? I don't understand. It was just very contradictory and I didn't get it. Um, so the result was that I just, into adulthood, never considered myself a Catholic. I don't currently consider myself Catholic, but it caused me to never have any sort of relationship with Jesus. I guess I kind of felt like I'm not Catholic, so he's not aware of me. I'm not like on his roster or something. And I don't pray to Jesus or something like that. But I was absolutely into spirituality, and I definitely believed in that we are all souls, that we are all part of the living creator of everything, which is God. Um, and I practiced yoga a lot in adulthood, and I um, learned to meditate. And in meditation, I often would talk to an Indian saint. His name is Shivananda. And in meditation, I was often able to, and I still am able to, get into a deep enough state that I can ask a question and receive an answer from Shivananda. And I would have the most absolute beautiful um, meditations with messages from Shivananda. Um, and so one day, I was working from home, and the reason I decided to work from home, and this was before the whole pandemic happened, is because I have a little boy, and I didn't want to be, commuting and spending all that time away. I wanted to be with my son as much as possible. So I was working from home one day, and I was stressed because the job was very stressful, and it was supposed to be sort of a typical 9 to 5, but it never was. There was so much to get done all the time. It was like I felt like I was just working all the time, and I wanted to be able to work and get the workday done, and then just be present for my son. And I felt like that never happened. So one day I said, today I'm going to do it. I'm going to get all my work done by 5. I'm turning the computer off, and that's it. I'm done. I'm going to be completely present and spending the second part of the day with my son. And so I start work and that day, and I have the tasks that I have to get done in order and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is I'm going to be able to get this done, everything done by 5. And then someone emails me and asks me to research something for them, and that's part of my responsibility on the team I was on. That was something I had to do. So right away I was stressed, and I was like, oh God, this is going to take time. But then I thought, let me just do it quickly. I did it, got it done, sent an email, then was back to the tasks that I had to get done. And then of course I get another email. Can you research something else? And this was going to take longer. And I was so stressed, and I thought, oh, forget it, forget it. I'm just never going to be able to do this. And in that moment, something shifted. The energy in the room changed. It was as if, and this gets so hard to explain exactly what I felt, but when I was in meditation, oftentimes I felt present. I was able to stop my mind from thinking. And I was able to be present and receive messages from people who have passed over. But this was not that. This this was, everything was still, like completely still. The energy shifted, and I felt that I was in a space of timelessness. That's the best way that I can explain, even though I couldn't even really, I don't know how I know something, it felt timeless, but I just did. So in this state, and I had brought up with me a bowl of frozen strawberries as a snack. And before, when I was stressed, I was just sort of like shoving them in, and it was almost painful. It was like I was just eating frozen blocks of flavorless ice. But in this state of timelessness, I became aware of a little bit of strawberry melting in my mouth. And that little piece of strawberry had the most intense strawberry flavor. It was like strawberry times a million. It was just an intense, amazing strawberry flavor. And it was also effervescent in my mouth. It was like the most joyful thing I'd ever experienced eating. It was like I was truly tasting a strawberry. And in that moment, I also became aware of everything that went into getting the strawberry to me. Like, I was aware of the person who developed the seeds for that particular strain of strawberry. I was aware of the earth the strawberry grew in. I was aware of the vine it was plucked from. I was aware of all the hands that were part of the strawberry's journey in the whole process that it took to get it to me. And I was also aware that the processing of it, the picking of it, freezing it, putting it in a bag, transporting it from wherever it came, and putting it on the shelf in the store, and me buying it, like none of that changed the tiniest bit, tiniest speck of the miracle of that strawberry. I understood it to be a miracle. I understood that strawberries were created as something joyful for us to enjoy during our lives. And that there is plenty of everything everyone needs on earth to delight in and enjoy. So I was like, whoa, what's going on? This is amazing. And then after I finished the strawberry, I wondered if it was still going on, and there was a bottle of water on my desk. So I took a sip of water, and the same thing happened with the water. I felt like it was a tiny little cloud in my mouth, and it just melted in my mouth, and it was just absolutely delightful. And again, I became aware of everything about that drop of water. I became aware of like the vapor that it had come from, the rocks that it had traveled over, the earth that it had touched. And I also became aware that the processing of it, the bottling and the transporting and the placing it on the shelves, none of it changed the nature of the water, that it is a miracle for us. Water and food are all miracles for us to enjoy in life. And there's plenty for everyone. There's no reason for absolutely anyone to go without water or food. There's far more than enough for everyone's need. And from what I understood from the way I experienced the strawberry and the water is that they are miracles here for us to enjoy in our physical life. So that at that point, there was another shift in the energy. It changed. And I felt like there was a pause, like I wasn't sure if it was still going on or not. And I looked at the door, and I thought, in my rational mind thought, well, I might be having a heart attack, I might be having a stroke. And then I looked out the window, and I honestly thought, maybe aliens are going to come in and abduct me. Like, I just had no idea what was going on. And my rational mind said I should probably leave because I'm a mother, I have a little boy, and he needs me. And if I am having a medical emergency, I should go. But in that moment, I knew that I had to stay. Like, there was absolutely nothing that could convince me to leave. I had to know what this was. There was such a strong it was just like a necessity. I had to know, so I didn't leave. And in that moment, when I made the conscious choice to stay, again, the energy shifted. And this time, it was a tremendous amount of energy in the room. And the best way I can think to describe it is, imagine if you're sitting in front of a raging fire, but there's no heat and there's no pain and there's no fire. It's just the energy. Like, that's the amount of energy I felt sitting in the room. I was like, oh my God, it was just a tremendous amount of energy. And I cannot explain how I know this, but I know that the energy was Jesus, the energy of Jesus. And he was I guess the core of the energy, you would say, was like to my left. And if I had to, there was nothing, I couldn't see anything with my eyes, but somehow I understood the form and the shape of the energy. And if he were a man, he would have been like a tall, slender man. And there was just this tremendous energy emanating from the core of where he was. And I understood it to be a healing energy. And then in that moment, I understood how all those stories in the Bible that as a child I couldn't understand, now I understood it, because anybody would heal in this presence, in this energy. It just all made sense. And so I was sitting there experiencing this, and I thought to myself, well, sitting here with Jesus, let me ask a question, right? So I thought, why is there suffering? And the second I asked the question, I had the answer. And the answer was his energy. His healing energy is the answer. Because there can be no suffering when you're in the presence of that healing energy. So for example, we obviously we don't want bad things to happen to anyone. We want to protect children. We want to protect animals. We want to protect the elderly, anyone vulnerable. We want to make sure nothing bad happens to them. But things do happen to them. And when things happen that cause people to suffer, we need to be able to help however we can, but not become a part of the suffering, because that grows the suffering. And that means basically we will not then ourselves be a healing presence. We instead will be growing the darkness instead of growing the light. So the message to me was, yes, there is suffering, and yes, help however you can, but do not become dark yourself and angry yourself over the suffering, and don't let that become all you see. Don't let that become all you experience, and don't focus so much or fixate on the people who cause the suffering, but because then you will no longer be a healing presence. And when people come into your space, when people interact with you, you won't be healing, and you'll just have negative interactions, and the domino effect will just be, then there will be more suffering. So in order to help stop suffering, yes, we have to help people who suffer, and we have to be aware of the suffering, but the main focus of our life should be on the joyful, on the amazing miracles everywhere around us. We need to delight in life, because if we do that, we then make ourselves a healing presence, so we will be able to help people who are suffering when they need it. So that was the main message that I got from my visit with Jesus. And then so since then, I've been asking Jesus to give me messages, and I share them on my channel. And what was I wanted to say something. I guess that would be it. Oh, also, the whole thing with like being a Catholic. Oh yes, it wasn't so at first I thought it was a visit. I thought Jesus had visited me, and I asked him one day, well, why did you visit? And I understood that it was not a visit, that Jesus is with each and every single one of us all the time. For whatever reason, in that moment, I was able to have an awareness that he's with us. And even though the energy I felt was tremendous, I know it was not. It was just a small fraction of the actual energy that you would be experiencing if you were, just with Jesus in a complete way. It was all I could handle in the moment. It was just so, so intense. Um, so, so yeah, he is with each and every one of us all the time. And your religion means absolutely zero, whether you're an atheist or, Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, Mormon, anything, it doesn't matter. Jesus couldn't care less. I mean, he's a person. He's a person in a spirit who incarnated, um, and has tremendous love for everyone, for every single person, and that's why his energy is so healing. So I wanted to share that today. Please let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.